Hi guys, summer is here and I've got the best fragrances for you to wear during the summer to beat the heat with. These are icy, frosty, cooling fragrances and they're going to be perfect in the summer heat, humidity, muggy, swampy weather. Find out about these cooling fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We're talking about ice cold fragrances, frosty fragrances that are going to be perfect in the summer heat. Do you have a favorite fragrance that you wear currently that is this type of a fragrance? These are fragrances that feature the type of notes that have a very refreshing, cooling effect. Notes like ozonic notes, violet leaves, cucumbers, juniper berries, and things like this that have this kind of like steel-like, metallic, ice-cold-like effect. Let me know if you have a favorite fragrance in this particular style, and let's get started with the list. The first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Chanel's Platinum Egoiste. This one right here, starting at number 20, this is a ranked list. This is a classic dating back 31 years. It was launched in 1993. It was a totally different take than Egoiste from Chanel. This is loads of aromatics and citruses, so it creates this ice-cold metallic effect, and I feel like it's perfect in the heat. It's lavender, geranium with oakmoss and vetiver, rosemary, neroli, clary sage, and galbanum. So it's green, it's herbal, it's aromatic, it's citrusy, plus very fresh and ice-cold from the House of Chanel. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. But moving on to the House of Essential Parfums at number 19, this is Mon Vetiver. Mon Vetiver is basically a vetiver fragrance with a gin-like effect. Gin is made with juniper berries, and I feel like they have a really cooling effect when you experience them in fragrances. So this is vetiver with gin accord, Mexican lime, juniper berries, lavender, gentian, cashmere wood, Indonesian patchouli. Mostly woods and aromatics, but you got that ice-cold effect against the earthy woods of the vetiver and the patchouli. So it's Essential Parfums Mon Vetiver. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. But moving on to the House of Bon Parfumeur, it's number 004, this one right here. It's gin, mandarin, and musk according to their main notes, as you can see on the label there. It's a bit simplistic to wear, but it features loads of citruses with the juniper gin type effect here with that note. So it creates an ice-cold effect when you're wearing it. But in addition to the mandarin, the gin, or the juniper, you also have musks here, lemons, bergamot, nutmeg, patchouli, and tobacco. Don't worry, it's not a tobacco fragrance. It's very ice-cold and cooling with that gin tonic like juniper effect with the mandarin orange citruses combo. Really wonderful offering, and it's not that expensive either, so you can liberally spray that stuff in the summertime and refresh with it. But if you haven't caught my video, a recent video I did on that house, please go catch it. Let's move on to the next fragrance at number 17. It's Molton Brown's Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel. So this is the old bottle. I realized I had an old bottle hidden back there, so I'm using my older bottle, but the bottles have been changed. But this has a kind of a menthol-like cooling effect in it, and I think it's created by the cypress note. It's called Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel. So I feel like this is Molton Brown's answer to Wood Sage and Sea Salt from Jo Malone, whereas that one I don't get that cooling effect from. I do get it here, and I feel like it's from that cypress note in here. But in addition to the cypress, we've got sea notes, cardamom, fig leaf, violet leaves, cedar, and musk. And in addition to the cypress giving you that menthol-like quality, you've got violet leaves here to give you that cooling ozonic touch. So this is Molton Brown's Coastal Cypress and Sea Fennel. Had a bit of a brain fart there, but let me know if you're a fan of that house. Put a comment down below. Then going to the House of CARNER Barcelona with Salado, this one right here. Let me know if you're familiar with this house. I don't know where this brand really sells anymore. They're not selling here anymore. I think they lost their distributor. This is a very cooling fragrance with the fact that it has an overdose of cucumber and it has a sea salt accord. So it's almost like a salad. And even though salado doesn't mean salad, it's a Spanish word. I get a salad-like effect with this one. But it's very cooling, very ozonic, a bit vegetal, and very green as well with the cucumber, the sea salt, Petitgrain, bergamot, orange blossom, musk, woods, and pink pepper. So there's some spice there. There's some woods and musk as well. but it's mostly the salty cucumber with the citruses together. Really great combo. So number 16, CARNER Barcelona Salado. Then we're going to the house of Atelier Oblique. It's Marble Sea. This one right here. Are you guys familiar with this house? I have a video on the channel with Dahlia. Go catch that. So this is ozonic notes, mint, bergamot, woodsy notes, green notes, musk, jasmine, rose, vanilla, and iris. There's definitely a very ice cold marble tabletop like an effect with this one. There's a shiny quality about it, and it's all created by the ozonic notes with the mint. The mint creates a cooling effect in some fragrances, not in every fragrance for me, but in this one it really does against the ozonic notes. Really wonderful. I have another fragrance coming up more at the top of the list that has even a better version of this, but this is definitely very cooling here and a great fragrance to wear when it's extremely hot outside. So Marble Sea from the house of Atelier Oblique. That's at number 15, but moving on to JUSBOX is Feel and Chill. This is basically a watermelon fragrance. It's fruity with fig leaves, but it's a very chilly, cooling kind of a fragrance with lots of greenness and fruitiness from the watermelon. But there's also coconut water here, bergamot, vetiver, and musk. It's a bit simplistic, but really fun and a bit playful with the fact that it's fruity with the watermelon note, and it's just a really fun fragrance to wear when it's extremely hot outside. So it's Feel and Chill from the house of JUSBOX. That's at number 14. But moving on to the house of Creed for number 13, it's Silver Mountain Water. This one right here. Silver Mountain Water is also really nice and cozy. And for some strange reason in the summertime when it's extremely hot in humid places, the heat exhausts, and this has that very cozy factor about it, in addition to the fact that it's cooling you at the same time as well. So it's green tea, musk, black currant, bergamot, sandalwood, Petitgrain, and mandarin, and the combination is great. It's fresh, it's refreshing, it's musky, it's clean, and also very cooling with the notes together. So this is Creed's Silver Mountain Water at number 13. Then we're going to the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. It's Color Premier. So this is it right here. So just to let you know before I move on with this fragrance, I left off a lot of citruses. Those have their own separate videos. If you're into the idea of citruses more, go catch those videos on the channel. Just search citruses. This is more about, the cooling kind of fragrances. Not a lot of citruses and also not a lot of aldehydes. But this one I did slip in here, Color Premier. It's kind of like the new Acne Studios from Frederic Malle or Blanche from the house of Byredo. It's aldehydes overdose here with musk, pear, jasmine, peony, rose, and ambroxan. But it's a very cooling fragrance. It's ice cold. It has that kind of sharpness, metallic touch, but in a musky kind of way, but very, very clean and soapy kind of way as well. If you don't know this one, do check it out. It's Color Premier at number 12. From the house of Les Eaux Primordiales. Next up, going to the house of by Kilian, it's Roses on Ice, this one right here. So this is a gin tonic, a Hendrix gin tonic kind of a fragrance. At one time I was drinking a ton of gin tonics with Hendrix gin. I like that ice cold effect that it gives me, and it's also very thirst quenching as well. But Hendrix gin is made with rose and cucumber, or I don't know how they make it, but if you read the back of the bottle, it says this. And this is kind of inspired by that gin cocktail, or gin tonic cocktail with Hendrix gin. But it's cucumber, juniper berries, musk, rose, lime, and sandalwood. It has a very ice cold effect, cooling effect, and a cucumber like effect as well. And I feel like it's perfect to wear in the summer heat when it's hot and humid outside. So it's Roses on Ice from the house of by Kilian. Next, I knew I was going to feature this fragrance in a video like this. It's Zoologist Penguin, this one right here. Even though this is not such a daring fragrance, I really enjoyed it. It's a bit more, I think it's a lot more mass appealing, and it does have a bit of a designer kind of edge about it. But in the end, it's very ice cold, and I think it's perfect in the summertime. It's a bit more complex than some of these fragrances, but the fact that it's iciness and the Antarctic air is in here, it doesn't make for like extremely complex when some of the fragrances from this house goes really, animalic and overdose with, complexity. But this is Antarctic air, ice accord, juniper berries, sea moss, suede, musk, sandalwood, pink pepper, saffron, cistus absolute. And the juniper berries do come in, and remember, I always get that kind of an effect. It's metallic, sharp, ice cold, like steel, metal. That's what it gives to these fragrances, even though it's like an aromatic, spicy note. It creates that effect, and here I think it does a great job. So Zoologist Perfumes Penguin at number 10. Then moving on to the house of M. Micallef. It's Gin Tonic, this one right here. So this is, you know, inspired by gin tonic. I used to drink quite a bit of it at one time. I still do once in a while. I like it. And my favorite is the Hendrick's gin tonic with cucumber slices in it. So this is kind of inspired by a gin tonic, but more of a citrusy take on the gin tonic. It's got tonic water, lime, ginger, gin, mint, lily of the valley, bigarad, moss, vetiver, white musk, sandalwood, amber, cypriol, cedar, orange blossom. Very complex, but very fresh. Does have an ice cold effect, which generally with gin or juniper berries, you know, creates. But it's a really great fresh fragrance, not focusing on citruses too much, but, you know, it's there to enhance the fragrance, to give it its, you know, freshness and a bit juicy, citrusy touch against the aromatics and the notes that create that kind of metallic freshness and ice cold effect. So this is Gin Tonic from the house of M. Micallef. Let me know if you're familiar with that fragrance. And I do have a video on that house, overview of that house. There's a couple of videos. Go catch those if you're curious to learn more about M. Micallef. This next fragrance is fairly new. It's from the house of JUS. It's Icy Fizz, this one right here. So this is a modern take on a fougere, but it's a very ice cold effect here, and it's created with some of the notes that are in here. It's not necessarily juniper berries, but it's tea here in this particular case. So it's bergamot, neroli, lavender, pepper, longjing green tea, blonde woods. If you like the idea of a very cooling fougere fragrance with a tea effect in here, with a tea note, it's very prominent. You can totally smell it. It smells like tea, but it's got that kind of lavendery, aromatic fougere quality that typically associated with the fougeres. You're going to enjoy this one, and I think it wears great in the heat. It smells fantastic, and I like it. It comes alive, and it gives you that kind of ice-cold effect that you're really craving when it's extremely hot outside. Anyway, this is JUS Parfums. It's Icy Fizz. Let me know if you're familiar with that house. Go catch my video on a few other fragrances on that house. But moving on to the house of Hermes, it's H24 Herbe Vive, this one right here. And the reason this is listed here, first of all, it's a great designer fragrance for men. It's the third in the series of H24 fragrances, and it's the best for me right now because it has that pear granita note. If you've ever had a fruit granita or a granita, it's an icy kind of frozen dessert. I really like the way this wears, and it gives you that kind of cooling effect with the fruitiness. But this also has lots of aromatics, and they're also contributing to the ice cold effect with the fact that it has these kind of minty like aromatic notes in here, which is a really, really great fragrance. I really love this one. I think Christine Nagel is doing a great job, and so far Herbes Vives is my favorite flanker in the series of H24 fragrances. This is at number 7. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. If you're not a fan of that one, do you enjoy the other 2 H24 fragrances? Put a comment down below so I can find out. So up next, going to the house of Maison Crivelli, it's Absinthe Boreal, this one right here. So in the end, Absinthe Boreal is also a fougere fragrance, and it's created in an ice-cold way, and that's what I like about it. But this is totally different than Icy Fizz, but they're both fougeres, modern takes on fougeres, and they're both ice cold. So if you like the idea, check out both of these fragrances, especially if you're a fan of barbershop-y fougere fragrances. But this has juniper berries, lavender, eucalyptus, mint, lemon, artemisia, musks, and it's basically inspired by tasting absinthe under the northern lights. It's great. I think this is perfect in the heat. Both of these are. And extreme heat is the best for these fragrances because they come alive. The oils just kind of start popping and projecting off of you with all the, you know, aromatics and spices and cooling notes that are in here. So it's Absinthe Boreal from the house of Maison Crivelli. And this next fragrance from the house of Hermes, it's Terre de Hermes Au Givre, this one right here. This is a really, really great fragrance. Again, Christine Nagel did a great job. I've got 2 Hermes fragrances in this video. And even though they, you know, discontinued the previous in this series a couple years back, what they brought for us is actually a really great fragrance. And in the end, it's also very cooling because it has an overdose of juniper berry. It's citron, juniper berries, timut pepper, but also uncredited are woodsy notes, minerals, and metallic notes. And all of these kind of metallic notes gives me that kind of cooling effect, ice cold effect when it's really hot outside. But it doesn't smell like any of the Terre de Hermes fragrances. And even though the other one that got discontinued didn't smell like Terre de Hermes either, it was a completely different departure from that series. But still a great fragrance. And still, I think this one's a really great fragrance as well. That's why I've got it featured here at number 5. So it's Hermes Terre de Hermes Au Givre. Next, going to the house of Maison Cyr. It's Blue Gin, this one right here. And once again, we've got an overdose of metallic aromatics from the juniper berry note. And just note, I think if you like cooling fragrances, you got to look up fragrances with juniper berries, because I think they're going to do that. They have this sharp metallic quality about them, steel-like, and of course, it's very ice cold. So this is juniper berry with mandarin, Sichuan pepper, black pepper, cascalone, which is basically fresh aquatic notes, iron, cetalox like ambroxan, tonka beans, and cardamom. It's a great fragrance inspired by gin tonics, and things like that. And again, these notes are very ice cold for me. If you've ever had a gin tonic or, sipped on gin, just kind of imagine that effect you get when you're sipping on that kind of a cocktail. But either way, blue gin is at number 4, and number 3 is also similar, not similar, but it's Agave from the house of Nichane. And it's interesting, both of these are created by Firmenich perfumers. Of course, Mise en Cire fragrances are created by Alberto Morillas, and Agave is created by Elias Hermanides, another Firmenich perfumer, but I prefer this one a little more. And in fact, this was one of the fragrances I did not like at first. It was kind of having a marine effect, and of course I don't care for marine effects, but my nose opened up to it, and I now get more ozonic than marine, and I like that about it. It's got a cucumbery ozonic quality here, along with mint, yuzu, anise, basil, cardamom, licorice, olibanum, and the ozonic notes are created by violet leaves, but I think they are. At least to me they are. But they're definitely creating a cucumbery effect. And if you've ever had any kind of need to eat something cooling, cucumbers are really great. And if you ever have like acid reflux or anything, it's got that burning sensation, take some bites of cucumber, because it's got that cooling effect, and that's what I get with this one as well. It's a bit salad-like, but it's very refreshing, very ice cold, and I think it's perfect in the heat. So this is Nichane Agave. That is at number 3. Then at number 2, we're going to the house of Penhaligon's. This is Juniper Sling, one of the best creations that has a gin tonic kind of a fragrance, and it's very, very ice cold, sharp, and metallic, with an overdose of juniper berries here, with vetiver, black pepper, orange, cardamom. There's a leathery touch here, there's a sweet touch with a sugary note, orris, angelica, and amber. And I believe this one's created by Olivier Cresp, right? So it's 3 Firmenich perfumers back to back, creating their own juniper berry ice cold fragrance. But this is a really great fragrance from Penhaligon's. Let me know if you're familiar with this one. This is a vintage bottle, actually. This was like from 10-12 years ago, and I'm glad to keep it stored away. I don't have a current bottle, but when I was wearing this one, I really enjoyed how it had a very cooling effect when you spritzed it on. So it's Juniper, no, not Juniper. Yeah, it's Juniper Sling from the house of Penhaligon's. That's at number 2. And then we're going to end the list with Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Gentle Fluidity Silver. Yeah, this is, again, this fragrance and also Agave, I couldn't stand when I first smelled them. Now they're both really great for me. So sometimes fragrances I come back to, and it happens, and your nose adjusts to it, and I'm obsessed with the way this fragrance smells now. Kind of like Imagination I just spoke about a few days ago, and that fragrance I couldn't stand either, but now I'm obsessed with it. I love the way it smells, and this one, actually, it's even better for me than Imagination. This is juniper berries, woods, musk, coriander, nutmeg, amber, woods, and vanilla. It's super sexy, and this, when it mixes with your body chemistry and it starts projecting off of you, that's when it smells super fantastic. At first, when I first started smelling this one, it was so sharp to my nose. That's what I couldn't stand about it. Extremely sharp and metallic. But it's created by the juniper berries. But now I'm so used to the smell. I love it. And that's why I think it deserves to be at number 1. So this is Gentle Fluidity Silver at number 1 from the house of Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And let me know your thoughts on these cooling fragrances. These are the ones you want to wear when it's extremely hot outside. If it's hot, humid, muggy, swampy out there, check these fragrances out. They will really subconsciously cool you off, if not cooling you off, right on you as well. Let me know if you have other favorites. Put a comment down below so I can find out what they are, and let me know if you enjoy these fragrances currently. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. I do have 3 bonus budget options. Stay tuned for those. But please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright, 3 budget options for you guys. These are inexpensive. You can buy them for under $50. Some of them probably around $20, $25. First fragrance is Nautica's Voyage, this one right here. This is so super crisp and fresh. And very, very ice cold. It has a green apple note. That's what's creating this kind of juicy, drippy crispness. But it gives me that kind of cooling effect with apple, green notes, lotus flower, mimosa, musk, cedar, oak moss, and amber. I think it's this lotus flower that also creates kind of a watery, aquatic effect. And you've got this fruitiness, crispness, sharpness, and ice cold quality with this watery touch. And this is Nautica's Voyage. Been in my collection for a long time. But this next one's from the house of Paul Smith. And it's Paul Smith Men. I first wore this around 22, 23 years ago. Really like that kind of green, grassy smell. It's an overdose of violet leaves, and violet leaves creates ozonic touches. And here, this is a very refreshing, cooling, crisp, ice-cold fragrance with violet leaves, of course, basil, bergamot, orange, lavender, vetiver, and musk. It's really one of my favorite fragrances. It's been a great fragrance for me. I think it's created by Nathalie Lorson as well, and I think she did a great job on that one. Finally, the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Bentley's for Men Silver Lake. And Silver Lake, silver, metallic, sharp, steel, ice cold. This is definitely that. It's lemons, mint, amberwood, violet leaves, lavender, white musk. It's a great aromatic, spicy, masculine offering, all three of these last fragrances. If you're into the idea of ice cold fragrances, ladies, you can definitely try these and see if they're okay for you. But I think this list in general is a bit masculine leaning. But if you get past that, I think you're going to be really refreshed by wearing these. But either way, Bentley for Men Silver Lake is the last fragrance. And thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.